Welcome to Tommy Solo's Famous Friends. This is where I get to chat with people who I've connected with over the years in the world of arts and entertainment. And today I'm very pleased to welcome back to the show Terry Draper. Welcome back, Terry.
Hey, Tommy, it's good to be back.
Uh-huh. So, um, I would ask what you've been up to, but I know what you've been up to. And um, we've spoken now a few times, and it seems to be the trend is that you while away the winter in sunny Florida, where you are right now, and then you spend a whole lot of time humming and singing and fussing about the keyboards and coming up with ideas. And then in the summertime, you record an album which you release in time for Christmas. So here we are again.
Yeah, it's habit forming, I think. When I'm down here, it's sort of like being on vacation, even though I've been retired for quite some time. But I don't know. I get lounging in the pool and napping on the beach is I don't know. It helps with the creativity, I think.
Very
And so I tend to do the writing and the sketching in a MIDI environment on my computer down here with the keyboard and coming up with song ideas. And then I bring everything home and stick it in the big rig and do the vocals and guitars. As you well know, you came over to the house and did some at home yourself. So that's been sort of the way it goes.
seems like it's an infinite process.
Yeah, would be, wouldn't it?
So the new album, Infinity, comes out today, December 17th. So you can get it at terrydraper.com, and I highly recommend you do. You kind of alluded to the fact that I was a guest on the album. That was a real honor for me and a challenge as well, because you're not just a straight ahead rock and roll guy. There's no 145 in your music. It's very progressive pop, and I do recall that you had sent me "Dance the Dance," and you said that the end might be a bit of a challenge. And Frank Zappa question mark, and I responded, "I have never met a polka that I couldn't hoist a, a, a jug to." Uh, so it's interesting music, that's for sure. And it's not uncommon for you. You have a very eccentric style, but on this one, you've gone back into the vaults and you've redone some old material going back to the 80s. So how did that happen?
How did that happen? Well, I had some health issues over the summer. I spent 6 weeks in Toronto Hospital, Princess Margaret. Best care anywhere, I got to tell you. And so when I got out, didn't have a lot of new songs, new material, and I dug back into the vault. I found, I think, a couple of songs from the '70s, three or four from the '80s, three or four new ones, and a couple like Dance the Dance. I think that's about 10 years ago I wrote that song. And I kind of liked it, but I also thought it was kind of frivolous, throwaway kind of thing. And when I reviewed it this summer, I thought, you know what, this could be a real kind of 10cc kind of song, real tongue in cheek, and when 10cc does Bloody Tourists and singing I don't like Jamaica, I love her, that kind of thing. So I've never been able to dance. I'm the owner of two left feet. And so I thought I'd write a song called Dance the Dance that invokes every dance ever invented, and pretend that I've learned them all because of this particular woman who's right over there.
Uh, so it's an interesting song, that's for sure. And the first one that you sent me is actually the title track, Infinity. Now I found that very interesting in the arrangement as well. In fact, I'm glad that you sent me chord charts for that because it's not again straight ahead 1 4 5, but very interesting. Now I wonder. Did this song come from your questioning your own mortality with your health issues that you've gotten over recently?
No, I wrote it before I ran into some problems, but I've always sort of, we talk about infinity, and I mean, it's really hard to grasp. I mean, are you telling me there's no edge to the universe? There's got to be an edge to the universe. I mean, but apparently not. And the same with time. I mean, we're always in the middle of time. We're always in the middle of universe, the very definition of infinity. You can't be over on the side of the universe because it's infinite. I don't know. It's just always boggled my mind, and I decided to write about it. What happens when I sit down and start writing about something? I invariably start to think about it, which is a really good idea. And so, and then as you write about it and your ideas come out on paper, you sort of begin to understand how you feel about a particular subject and share those feelings. So I finished Infinity and I still have no idea. It's a mystery. It's a mystery to me. I'm born in the middle of time and I'm going to die at the very same time. I mean, I don't know. It's a conundrum.
It certainly is. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Um,
that's why I think that that song in particular is not your straight ahead average song. It breaks down in the middle and goes into 6/8 and all sorts of swirly whirly chords and bizarre sound effects and stuff. And then we go back into the song and then back out of it again. It's a bit of a ride, but kind of like you said it best. And it's a term I coined, I believe, progressive pop.
I I I don't disagree. Um, you are a unique individual and artist, that's for sure. Now, this album, you've got, I counted, I think 17 other artists on board with this, including myself.
Is that right?
I believe there were 17. Yeah.
Let me
And
count them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. Your counting skills are remarkable, Tommy.
just don't ask me to go past 20. Yeah.
Yeah, 17 people. Well,
Yeah.
like some of the songs from the 80s, actually, they were demos, of course, back then, done on 4 track. And there's a few of those. And I took them and put them through an AI separation program that spits back the song at you with the vocals by themselves, the drums by themselves, the bass by itself, and everything else sort of other with a metronome that allows the platform I'm using, which happens to be Logic Audio, Logic 9, Logic 10, in fact, is the one I used because it sees that metronome and makes sure that, and keeps everything in sync. Because what happened, the versions of these songs that I found were mixed to cassette, and cassettes are notorious for stretching and they're not. It's not a comprehensive mix down format. So the this AI program that separates the tracks gives you a metronome that's going back and forth all over the place, infinitesimally, I might add, but still enough that you can't say, oh, I recorded this song at 120 beats per minute, set it at 120, drop it in. It won't work. You have to follow as the song stretches and moves. You can't hear it with your ear, but anyway, so with that technology, I managed to separate the parts, replace the drums because it was some cheesy drum machine that I used in most cases, and then beef up the bass, EQ it, make it nicer, and tune the vocal if there was anything. Add some harmonies, add some guitars like yourself. You played on one called "It's Your Love" that I wrote in '81. And what you hear on that song, outside of your great guitars, is my friend Neil Newmanen redid the bass, and he had to do it note for note exact to what was originally there. What was originally there was just too muffled and muddy to use, but it was in the mix. You couldn't get rid of it. So we had to do the exact same bass on top of it. And Neil nailed it. And it's a bit of a rocker, 3 minutes long. It's as close as I get to doing a 145 rock and roll. And I tuned the vocal up. That's the original vocal that I did in the 4 track 40 odd years ago. And I'm quite pleased with that one because it's out of my wheelhouse a little bit, and it's cool. I like what we ended up with.
Yeah, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Among the guests on this album are Keith Hampshire and Virgil Scott. Now, did they um, participate this past summer, or was that one of the older
No,
recordings?
that was the most recent recordings. A month ago, they came over to the house and we did some vocals on a song called Ubuntu. This is an interesting song. I was watching some documentary, and there was this guy in Africa working with this tribe, and he'd taken a bowl of fruit or sweets or something and put it down the field a little bit, and told all the children that the first one that gets there can have the bowl of stuff. And when he said go, all the kids walked down hand in hand and shared the bowl of goodies,
Hmm.
which you wouldn't see that in Western society. And he went on to explain that it's what the tribe refers to as Ubuntu. I am you and you are me. And the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. It's all that kind of mentality. And I found that really interesting, and I thought I'd write about it. So I tried to make it a bit of an African groove. And the best way for me to do that was to use a little sound effects. Sort of sounds like the jungle sounds from a Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan movie. But that's okay. That's what I think of Africa most of the time when I envision it in my mind, and I'm in this mode trying to do this village thing. Anyway, so I needed as many voices on that as possible. So I'm singing the song, and Brenda Webb is with me, Jamie Hoover, Elena Rogers, Keith, and Virgil. Anybody else? No, I think that's it. But that's and it's just like a gang vocal, not a lot of harmonies going on in the verses or something. But generally, it's everybody's just singing this song in unison, like a village would. And so that was kind of fun, and that's that one.
That's interesting, and a lot of people uh, don't really have that much of a scope in their minds as far as how to do vocals. So the typical thing would be to almost want to do barbershop harmonies every time, and that just doesn't always work. There are times where just the different tonality, when you've got four singers all singing the same note, really works. So that's an interesting way to do it. I think what we should do at this point, Terry, is just take a minute here and give people a preview of one of the videos from the album. Let's let them see some of Dance the Dance.
Good idea, Tommy.
I never bothered to bossa nova. I never tangled until dawn. I never really needed to rumba. I never sambaed all night long. I couldn't shout.
Wow. That is something else. And not only is the song awesome, but the video as usual. Jamie Grant, what a guy, man. I don't know how he comes up with this stuff, but he's done a wonderful job once again with the videos on this album.
Yeah, this is a very odd relationship I have with Jamie Grant. We've never met. He put a CD out quite a few years ago now, called McPherson Grant, that he did with a fellow who lives out west, I think in Washington or Oregon. And they asked me to play drums on one of their songs that was a very sort of off the wall, Beatley kind of thing. And I added timpani drums and cymbal rolls and all sorts of bizarre stuff and mellotron and choir, as well as a drum kit. And anyway, he made videos for all their songs, and I was doing a new album. I was actually putting out a piece of vinyl, which I hadn't done since the Klaatu days, and I wanted it to be a retrospective with a couple of new songs. So it's called In My Garden because I chose some of my favorite flowers to put on this album. And one of them was a song called Fish. And I called Jamie up on email and I said, hey, how much would you charge me to do a video? I've got this song Fish that could lend itself to something cool. Maybe we could use some of the video from Mr. Limpet. Don Knotts. Anyway, that goes way back. So he said, oh yeah, no charge. I gladly do a video for you for future considerations. I said, all right, okay, good. So we did that one, and then I did it. The next album I was working on, and I sent him a couple of the songs to listen to, and he did videos for them. Well, now this is, I think it's 6 albums later, and he's done videos for every song on every album, which is like, I don't know, 75, 80 videos or something. And we've never met. We've never spoken on the phone. It's always been email or it's always been email. We don't even talk on Facebook Messenger. So it's rather bizarre, but he does really good work. And I let him do whatever he wants as a rule. That's his domain, what he thinks my songs look like. I hope everybody has their own video going on in their head, but that's what he does. And I let him be creative and do whatever he wants. He's also done the artwork for the last couple of albums since my good friend Ted Jones passed away. And he's tried to keep the artwork in the same vein as Ted Jones. In fact, somebody just said to me the other day how much this album cover looks like Ted Jones did it. I'm going to hold it up for you. I don't know if you can see that very well.
Yeah.
But that's the cover of Infinity.
A little bit higher.
A little bit.
Yeah, there we go.
And the inside is, it's very cool. And, he just does nice work. He's done this one, and he's done everything since The Other Side, which would be Bread and Circus. This one, I can't remember what last year's album was called. In the Beginning.
Yes.
In the Beginning. Yeah, he did that one too. So it's an interesting relationship, and I'm quite pleased to have someone help me out.
That's interesting for sure, and I'm impressed by how he's kept the consistency with Ted's original style. That's a sign of somebody whose ego doesn't get in the way. He's just concerned about providing the product to meet your satisfaction and be consistent with the tradition. That's very interesting. And the fact that you've never met, I thought that this was like this long distance recording thing was a result of COVID, but it's been going on for a while, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of a new thing for me. I am used to going into a studio, and having the producer there, and the artist in the room, if it's not me, whatever. But it is interesting how we can do these things from afar.
I've been doing this for quite some time. I mentioned Jamie Hoover and Elena Rogers. They live in North Carolina. Jamie has been working with me, doing vocals and guitars here and there over the last 10 years. And it's just great fun. He sends me this stuff, and he always sends me more than I need. And not only do I not use it all, but I'll take some of it that I like, and over the course of working on the song, I'll grab it and move it over here. and you know, and play with it and adjust. I did that with some of your guitar work too. The end of Infinity, the guitar you played was interesting, and when I made it play backwards, it was even more interesting.
That
And
that
it also added to the Infinity, and it sort of, when you hear it, it sort of puts that, you know, that what on your face,
yeah,
which is the way I feel about Infinity anyway.
it's almost psychedelic in the way that
Oh,
you
I'm hoping it's
interpreted it.
totally psychedelic.
Yeah. You caught me off guard because after I sent you the tracks and we were communicating back and forth, you said, you know, that raga part at the end was great. And I thought, well, I was tapping. I suppose that could be considered raga. And then when I heard it, I thought, oh, now I get it. It really, yeah. Uh, yeah, but that's certainly an interesting facet of your style overall. You know that it is progressive and it's very nonconformist. You know, so I really appreciate that in your music. Um, the 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 other guitarists also did a really good job. Our mutual friend Fernando Perdomo plays on it, and
Yeah, he played on the song Leaving. This is the third album in a row that he has played on with me. We've never met either or spoken, but he's a big Klaatu fan, and you know, we've communicated on Facebook or whatever frequently. And a few years ago, I was working on Bread and Circus, and the title song I wanted to sound. I needed some Robert Fripp guitar, and you know, some real frippery. And so I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, Fernando, would you consider playing on one of my songs? I'm looking for a, you know, a little Robert Fripp." And he says, "Oh, that'd be cool. Can you send me the song?" Well, I sent him the song, and the next day he sent me back all his guitar parts. And that was like, what? You know, normally it takes a few weeks, a month. You know, people like to get comfortable and listen to the song, and you know, and I try to give them some idea of what I'm looking for. Sometimes I don't. I say, here's a song that I think you can help me with, and it's up your alley. What do you got? But so he delivered the goods, and he's a very tasteful player.
he's very versatile too. I mean, he plays with so many different people. Take too long to list them all off, but yeah, he's quite talented. And then did you say Jamie Grant? Did he also play guitar on this?
He played some nylon string guitar, classical guitar, on a song called "It Must Be the Weather," and he did some other bits and pieces here and there. I'm not sure what, because I send him the songs, and then you know he sends me back what he's done or added to it, and in the video I can't remember everything because there's so many bits and pieces floating around.
Right. Yeah. Now I was just thinking about when I sent you the guitar work that I had done here in London for Infinity, and the first thing you said was 16 tracks. So wait, no, it wasn't actually. I double everything. So I get that you were a little bit overwhelmed by that file for sure. Um, another
Well,
mutual,
that happens, you know, like
yeah,
sometimes less is more. I don't particularly subscribe to that thinking. In that vein of thought, I've always said that if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
right, yeah,
The opposite of less is more.
yeah,
But like for instance, on Dance the Dance, you played rhythm guitar throughout the verses, and it was great, and it sat in the track really nicely. But it was just when we got around, when we came back to the chorus, it wasn't as exciting, you know, with those da 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 that guitar line,
yeah.
the you know the setup. And so I took your guitars right out. It's just the vocal, the piano, and some drums and percussion. And then you did the answers to every vocal, and now there was room for you to answer and put nuance in your playing and to make it totally legible. And the song benefited from that.
that was all you as a producer, because I recall I hadn't come up with any of those answer licks before I got to your house. And so that is what a producer does. So the fact that you can write your own material, perform it, and produce it, and do it in an objective way is something that's for sure. But I've found that oftentimes that happens to me. I'll go into the studio with my producer, and I don't plan on playing a lead solo, for example. And he'll say, "Well, why don't we just add this section?" And then you go nuts on it. And sometimes as a guitarist, I find I work better under pressure. Like you said, now let's do the answers. And oh, okay, let's see what happens here.
Well, we recorded those, and normally each one I'll record 2 or 3 times. And after you've left the building, I go back in and say, see which one I like best. And maybe it's half of take one and half of take three. And, and then maybe I like the one you did before. And so I'll grab it and drag it over here, cut and paste, and and play with it. And sometimes it's in the wrong key or the chords have changed. That's okay. I can fix that too. I'll put it in the tuner and start moving the notes around. So it's this technology today allows you so much latitude, and it's actually a great deal of fun. Take something and like turning a pig's ear into a purse.
Another song that you had Fernando Perdomo play on from the
Good memory,
beginning.
Tommy.
Yeah. Not bad for an old guy. Yeah. So we all look forward to getting a copy, and terrydraper.com is where you do that. I love this album. I don't know what to tell you. It's brilliant as usual, and I'm going to look forward to seeing what you come up with over next summer. Maybe we can do something together again. I don't know. But Terry, I want to thank you once again for taking the time out of your day to do this with me. And until next time, cheers.
Thanks, Tommy. We will do this again.
All right. Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a one-man production, meaning that I've done all the work, including recording, editing, guest acquisition, etc. And hey, here's some news. We've just recently joined forces with 519 Magazine, so you can check out my interviews there as well. The theme song for Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a clip from my original composition, The Burn, all rights reserved. If you enjoy the show and you'd like to help us keep it going, why don't you click on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. We really appreciate it. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, cheers.